Have you ever noticed how the world keeps getting louder? Your phone buzzing, notifications pinging, everyone's shouting for attention, and something inside you is screaming for quiet. Stop. Take a breath with me. That moment you just experienced? That tiny gap between thoughts? That is where freedom begins. I'm going to tell you a secret that powerful people have known for centuries, but nobody talks about. The greatest weapon in your life isn't what you say, it's what you don't. In our journey today, we're going to discover why the wisest teachers throughout history often said the least. Why monks spend decades mastering the art of stillness. And why your breakthrough might be waiting in the spaces between your thoughts. The first lesson in our exploration of silence might surprise you. True silence isn't empty at all. It's incredibly full. When you learn to access it, you'll discover a source of power that's been within you all along. Are you ready to discover what happens when you finally quiet the noise? Your first step into a more peaceful, powerful life begins right now. True silence is more than simply not speaking. Picture an old monk sitting by a stream, watching as a young student approaches with urgency written across his face. The student carries a cup of water so full it spills with each step. "Teacher," he says breathlessly, "I have so many questions. About life, about practice, about achieving enlightenment quickly." The old monk doesn't answer. Instead, he takes the cup from the student's hands and continues pouring more water until it overflows dramatically onto the ground. "What are you doing?" asks the confused student. "Can't you see it's already full?" The monk smiles gently. "Like this cup, your mind is already filled with opinions and questions. How can I show you anything new if you leave no room for it?" This is how silence works in the wisdom path. Not as emptiness, but as creating space where something new can enter. When we think of silence, we often imagine something missing, the absence of noise. But for those who practice the way of awareness, silence is very much alive, like the open sky that allows clouds to move freely. The teacher known as Buddha often used silence not as a way to avoid questions, but to show people a deeper truth. When asked about certain complicated ideas, like whether the universe goes on forever or has an end, he stayed quiet. This wasn't because he didn't have answers. It was because he saw that some questions keep us stuck in thinking rather than experiencing life directly. If you were shot with a poisoned arrow, he once told a student who demanded answers about the universe, "Would you refuse treatment until you knew who made the arrow, what wood it was carved from, and the name of the person who shot you? Or would you simply remove the arrow and heal the wound?" This noble silence reminds us to focus on what truly matters, freedom from suffering, rather than getting lost in endless debates that don't change how we live. For those with busy minds constantly jumping from one thought to another, silence serves as medicine. The mind naturally creates endless stories, worries about tomorrow, regrets about yesterday, and commentaries about everything it encounters. This mental chatter, called thought proliferation by ancient teachers, is like a wheel that keeps spinning long after the initial push. True silence gently stops this wheel. A forest meditation teacher once told the story of a woman who couldn't sleep because her thoughts raced all night. After learning to sit in silence each morning, she noticed the thoughts were still there, but she no longer felt dragged along by them. The thoughts are like buses, she realized. I don't have to board everyone that arrives. In the tradition of Zen, silence often speaks louder than any clever saying. A famous story tells of a master who, when asked to explain the deepest teaching, simply held up a flower without saying a word. Only one student smiled, showing he understood that some truths can't be packaged into words. This thunderous silence showed more than hours of talking ever could. For those walking the path of wisdom, silence happens in layers. First comes the outer silence, simply not speaking unnecessarily and listening more than talking. This might seem simple, But even this level brings remarkable changes to how we see ourselves and others. Deeper still is the inner silence that comes when the mind grows still through focused attention. This isn't forcing thoughts away, but letting them settle naturally, like mud in a jar of shaken water. The deepest silence happens when we directly see the true nature of mind and experience, beyond concepts, beyond words. In this profound quiet, wisdom doesn't need to be searched for. It simply reveals itself, like stars appearing when the sun sets. This silence isn't hiding from life or disconnecting from others. Instead, it's engaging with everything more fully by first establishing a quiet center from which to move out into the world. Like the hub of a wheel that remains still while allowing movement, silence creates a centered awareness that makes all action more meaningful. Now that you understand what true silence really is, let's bring it into your everyday world. The beauty of silence isn't just for monks sitting in remote caves. It's a practical tool you can use while washing dishes, talking with friends, or stuck in traffic. Think about your typical day. How often do you pause, really pause, between activities? A woman once told her teacher she was too busy for meditation. He smiled and asked, "Do you ever wait for the elevator?" When she nodded, he said, "There's your meditation time." These elevator moments are scattered throughout your day. Waiting for coffee to brew, sitting at a red light, those few seconds before you get out of bed. Instead of immediately reaching for your phone, try something radical. Do nothing. Just notice your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. This simple practice creates tiny islands of peace that transform your entire day. But here's where silence becomes truly powerful: when you're with other people. Next time someone speaks to you, try this experiment. Really listen. Not the kind of listening where you're just waiting for your turn to talk, but listening as if this person has something valuable to teach you. A wise teacher once demonstrated this to a group of students arguing loudly about philosophy. He sat between them, completely silent, giving each speaker his full attention before turning to the next. Gradually, the students began doing the same. Their conversation transformed from a debate into a genuine exchange of ideas. Nobody had to win anymore. This quality of silence while listening doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become fully present. You hear not just words, but the feelings behind them. You notice the pauses, the tone shifts, the things left unsaid. This kind of listening is one of the greatest gifts you can offer another person. Even in our noisy world, you can create a sanctuary of silence. A businessman who practiced this kept a small stone on his desk. Whenever he touched it, he would take 3 silent breaths before continuing his work. "Those 3 breaths saved my sanity," he later said. "They reminded me that beneath all the chaos was a place of calm I could access anytime." When silence enters your relationships, something remarkable happens. A couple who had been fighting for years started a practice of sitting in silence together for 5 minutes before discussing difficult topics. In those 5 minutes, the wife explained, "I remember that I love this person. My need to be right fades away." Their arguments didn't disappear, but they became conversations rather than battles. Silence also offers a mirror to see yourself clearly. A teacher asked his student who complained of constant anxiety, "Who's talking to whom inside your head?" This simple question revealed how the student had been caught in endless internal dialogues, judging himself harshly for every mistake. Through moments of inner silence, he began to recognize these thought patterns without being controlled by them. Perhaps the most beautiful way silence appears in daily life is through compassion. There are times when no words can help someone who's suffering. A man who lost his child found that most people tried to comfort him with explanations or advice. But one friend simply sat with him in silence, day after day. He was the only one who truly helped, the man later said. His silence made space for my grief without trying to fix it. This silent presence requires courage. It means facing another's pain without turning away or filling the space with empty words. It means trusting that sometimes human connection goes deeper than language. The path of silence doesn't require you to speak less. It invites you to speak more meaningfully. It doesn't ask you to withdraw from life. It helps you engage more fully. Like salt in a meal, silence doesn't replace other ingredients of a good life. It enhances their flavor, bringing out the richness that was always there. As you begin to explore silence in your life, you'll soon meet its guardians, the obstacles that stand at the gate. These aren't enemies to fight, but teachers that show you where your work lies. First among these obstacles is our strange fear of silence itself. Have you noticed how uncomfortable a quiet room can make people feel? Someone always rushes to turn on music or start a conversation. This isn't an accident. Silence reveals what noise hides: our restlessness, our unresolved feelings, the questions we'd rather not face. A young woman once left her busy city life to attend a weekend retreat. On the first night, she couldn't sleep despite the peaceful surroundings. It was too quiet, she explained later. I could hear my thoughts too clearly. What she called too quiet was actually the sound of her own mind without its usual distractions. This hunger for constant stimulation is like a thirst that can never be quenched. The more we feed it, the stronger it grows. Another obstacle comes disguised as virtue: the mistaken idea that being silent means pushing down our true feelings. A man practiced silence during family arguments, thinking he was being peaceful, but his tense body and cold eyes spoke volumes. He wasn't practicing silence, but suppression, and everyone could feel the difference. True silence doesn't hide or deny. It creates space to feel everything more fully without being controlled by those feelings. A meditation teacher described 5 major roadblocks you'll likely encounter on the path of silence. The first is wanting things to be different than they are, constantly reaching for pleasant experiences and pushing away discomfort. I'll be silent when everything is perfect, you might think. But this just creates more noise. The second is resistance, the irritation, judgment, or impatience that arises when things don't go your way. An executive tried meditation but quit after 3 days. It made me angry, he said. The teacher replied, the silence didn't create your anger. It simply revealed what was already there. The third obstacle appears as heaviness, the dullness and sleepiness that come when you finally sit still. The mind, accustomed to constant stimulation, mistakes calm for boredom. Like eyes adjusting to a dimly lit room, it takes time to discover the richness within stillness. The fourth is restlessness, the mind jumping from thought to thought like a monkey swinging between branches. A student complained that his thoughts were even more chaotic during meditation than in daily life. That's progress, his teacher assured him. Before, you were just too busy to notice. The fifth obstacle is doubt, the voice that whispers, what's the point of all this silence? Or, am I doing it right? This questioning can be valuable when it leads to deeper understanding, but harmful when it becomes an excuse to give up. Even when you've tasted the benefits of silence, another subtle challenge awaits, turning silence itself into a trophy to display. A man who completed a 10-day silent retreat couldn't stop talking about how profound his silence had been. His teacher reminded him, the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. True silence doesn't need to advertise itself. There's also an important distinction between chosen silence and forced silence. Throughout history, silencing others has been used as a form of control. A monastery once had such strict rules about silence that its members became afraid to speak at all. Eventually, a wise elder pointed out, our silence should spring from abundance, not fear. Freedom to speak makes silence meaningful. Otherwise, it's just another prison. For many people, the most persistent challenge is simply the mind's endless chatter. A businessman described his thoughts as a radio that never turns off. His teacher suggested a simple practice. Whenever he noticed he was lost in thought, he should mentally note, thinking, then return to his breath. Don't fight with your thoughts, the teacher advised. Just recognize them and gently redirect your attention. With practice, the periods between thoughts gradually lengthened, like the spaces between waves on a calming sea. Now that you've learned about the obstacles, let's explore the treasures waiting on the other side. When silence becomes a regular part of your life, transformations begin to unfold naturally, like flowers opening to the sun. The first gift of silence is a different kind of knowing. Have you ever had a moment when you suddenly understood something important without anyone explaining it to you? This flash of insight doesn't come from thinking harder. It emerges when the mind grows quiet enough to see clearly. A painter struggled for weeks with a difficult project. One morning, she simply sat in front of her canvas without picking up a brush. She watched her breathing and let go of all her ideas about what the painting should be. Suddenly, she saw exactly what was needed. The answer wasn't in more effort, she explained, but in creating space for wisdom to appear. This wisdom works differently from ordinary thinking. Instead of building knowledge piece by piece, it sees the whole picture at once. It's like the difference between climbing a mountain path step by step and seeing the entire landscape from above. Both perspectives are valuable, but our world tends to overlook the second one. Silence also transforms how we experience emotions. Many people believe they only have two options when strong feelings arise: express them immediately or push them down. Silence offers a third path: feeling emotions fully while giving them space to move through you. A man known for his quick temper discovered this when his meditation teacher suggested a simple practice. Whenever anger arose, he should pause and feel where the emotion lived in his body before speaking or acting. At first, this seemed impossible. But gradually, he found that anger, when truly felt without feeding it with stories, lasted only about 90 seconds. The anger still comes, he said, but now it passes through me like a storm rather than becoming who I am. As practice deepens, another shift occurs: the movement from outer silence to inner stillness. A forest ranger who lived alone for 30 years was asked if he ever got lonely. There's a difference between external silence and inner quiet, he explained. I spent my first 5 years in the forest physically alone but mentally crowded with thoughts, worries, and old conversations. Real solitude arrived when my mind finally grew still enough to hear the world around me. In this deeper silence, something remarkable becomes visible: the natural brightness of awareness itself. When clouds disperse, we don't need to create the blue sky. It's already there. Similarly, when thoughts settle, a clear, open awareness reveals itself as our natural state. A teacher demonstrated this to a group of students by asking them to describe their mind. They gave various answers: busy, anxious, creative. She then asked them to notice who was aware of these qualities. In the silence that followed, many experienced a shift, recognizing that beyond all the changing mental states was a simple, clear awareness that remained constant. This recognition naturally gives rise to kindness. When we stop dividing experience into my problems versus their problems, we see that everyone wants the same basic things: happiness and freedom from suffering. A doctor who incorporated silent reflection into his daily routine found that he began seeing his patients differently. Before, I was treating diseases, he said. Now I'm meeting people. From this wider perspective, something unexpected emerges: creativity that serves life rather than ego. An architect who practiced regular periods of silence found that her designs changed. I used to create buildings to impress other architects, she admitted. Now I design spaces that help people feel at peace. Her work became both more playful and more useful, flowing from a deeper source than personal ambition. Now that you understand the transformative power of silence, let's explore specific practices that have been tested and refined for thousands of years. These are practical tools you can use right away, regardless of your background or beliefs. One of the most powerful ways to experience deep silence is through a dedicated retreat. These range from weekend gatherings to months-long immersions where participants follow a simple daily schedule focused on silent practice. The structure varies, but the essence remains the same, creating conditions where silence can naturally deepen. Maria had never meditated before attending a 3-day silent retreat. The first day was torture, she recalled with a laugh. I made a mental list of everything I would change when I got home. By the third day, something shifted. The endless mental commentary slowed down, and I felt truly peaceful for the first time in years. This is typical. The mind often rebels before surrendering to silence. If you're considering a retreat, start small. A day or weekend is plenty for beginners. Prepare by gradually reducing stimulation beforehand. Less screen time, quieter evenings. Bring comfortable clothes and, most importantly, come with an open mind. Remember, the difficulties you encounter are part of the practice, not obstacles to it. For daily life, formal meditation offers a foundation of silence that can extend into everything else. The simplest approach is mindful breathing, sitting comfortably and bringing gentle attention to the natural rhythm of your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, simply notice this and return to the breath without judgment. Thomas, a firefighter, started with just 5 minutes each morning. I thought meditation meant having no thoughts, so I kept getting frustrated, he said. Then my teacher explained that noticing I'm distracted is the practice. The point isn't to have a perfectly quiet mind, but to build the muscle of awareness. Eventually, 5 minutes became 20. And the calmness he cultivated began flowing into the rest of his day. Different traditions offer various approaches to meditation. Some focus on developing deep concentration, where attention becomes so steady that a profound stillness emerges naturally. Others emphasize clear seeing, using the silent space to observe how experience unfolds moment by moment without getting caught in it. Beyond formal sitting practice, many traditions incorporate silence into physical movement. Walking meditation transforms an ordinary activity into a doorway to presence. Instead of rushing from place to place, each step becomes complete in itself. The emphasis shifts from getting somewhere to being fully where you are. Forest monasteries often practice work meditation, where daily chores become opportunities for mindfulness. A senior monk was asked why they sweep the ground so carefully when leaves will just fall again. He smiled and replied, "We're not sweeping to get rid of leaves. We're sweeping to meet this moment fully." When approached this way, even washing dishes or folding laundry becomes a practice of presence. Eating offers another powerful opportunity for silence practice. Before meals in meditation halls, practitioners often recite, "With this food, I remember the effort that brought it here, and my responsibility to live in a way that makes these efforts worthwhile." Then they eat in silence, giving full attention to each bite, the flavors, textures, and the direct experience of nourishment. Sarah, a busy executive, incorporated silent eating into her lunch breaks. "Just 10 minutes of eating without my phone changed my relationship with food," she noticed. "I taste more, eat less, and feel more satisfied. Plus, that small island of silence refreshes me for the afternoon." Perhaps the most accessible silence practice involves connecting with nature. Ancient teachers often sent students to sit by rivers or beneath trees, recognizing nature's power to quiet the human mind. The steady presence of mountains, the rhythmic patience of oceans, the silent growth of forests, all mirror qualities we can cultivate within. Michael started spending 20 minutes in a nearby park before work. "I don't do anything special," he explained. I just sit on a bench and watch the trees move in the wind. Something about their peaceful strength helps me remember what matters. This simple practice grounds him in silence before entering his noisy workplace. We've explored this sacred landscape of silence together, from understanding its true nature, bringing it into daily life, navigating its challenges, experiencing its transformations, and learning practical ways to cultivate it. But this is just the beginning of your journey. The power of silence isn't something you master in a day or even a lifetime. It's a path that continually deepens, revealing new insights with each step you take. The ancient wisdom we've shared today becomes alive only when you experience it for yourself. If this exploration has touched something in you, that quiet longing for peace that lives in every human heart, I invite you to join our community of seekers. Subscribe to our channel for more teachings that bridge ancient wisdom with modern life. Each week, we explore practical ways to bring more clarity, compassion, and wisdom into your everyday experience. And if you found value in today's teaching, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. In our noisy world, the gift of silence is perhaps the most precious thing we can offer each other. By sharing this video, you become part of a growing wave of awareness, a gentle reminder that beneath all our doing, saying, and striving, silence waits patiently to nourish our deepest selves. Until we meet again in the next video, may you discover moments of peace in unexpected places. May the silence between your thoughts grow just a little bit wider. And may you remember that your true nature, vast, clear, and already complete, is always just one conscious breath away. Click subscribe, share with a friend, and join us next week as we continue this journey together.